Right, okay, so I think it's just the case of EQ a little bit of the basses together to make them gel a bit more. That seems to be the problem here. So it's quite loud. So sub here, you kind of done the main bits here. You kind of cut below 27 hertz, and this one. It's cut pretty sort of. Overall, it just seems a large dip has occurred. I reckon if you have the high pass filters, maybe a sharper slope, it kind of is more acute with cutting. It's kind of more aggressive.
Yeah.
So that might just help cut out more of the bass. Like that. You can sort of still hear it goes up in volume and back down again. So this is when you probably use a compressor. I think you've got a sidechain here. So I'm going to keep that there. I'm going to have the sidechain right at the end. You should have it at the end of the signal chain, because how Logic works, it goes from top to bottom. So
Right. Yeah.
at the moment it's going to go EQ, then the other compressor I'm going to be adding, then the sidechain. It makes sense to have the sidechain at the end, because if you add it in the middle, it'll be sidechained, then the other compressor what I'm going to add would start trying to compress that. So they kind of counteract each other. So I'm going to put another compressor here. Now we're dealing with bass at the moment, so with compression I'm going to have it as a ratio of 10:1. So that means past the threshold, of every 10 decibels that tries to go through, only one will come out. It'd be that compressed. It would turn the signal down by 10 dB past whatever I set this amount to. So I'm going to have the auto gain off, because that's more suitable for like radio broadcasting, where it will just turn it up for you, so compensate. But for this case, we just want to turn it down because it's a little bit too loud. And knee is sort of the bend in the threshold. So you can imagine this is the threshold here. You can sort of see when I move it, it becomes quite sharper. So that means compression will start occurring before it actually hits the threshold. So that's really useful for like bass or kick drums. Whereas if we're compressing something softer, like vocals or acoustic guitar, you have a soft knee, so it's kind of gradual. But we want to go quite hard with it, hits bass. So I'm going to do a 10:1, and I'm going to have the attack instant. So as soon as that bass hits that threshold, it responds. Because what the attack does, you can have it delays. So say if it hits the threshold, you can have it that it doesn't hit until, say, 100 milliseconds, which is good to get transients through, so punch and things like that. But at the moment, it's quite a sort of morphing bass. So at the moment, I just want to start with an instant attack, and maybe about 120 milliseconds release, so it doesn't let go of compressing it, as in pushing it down, until 120 milliseconds after the signal falls below the threshold. So you can even see here, it's sort of pushing it down. You can see how much it's sort of pushing it down by. So it's like doing the volume for you. That's what a compressor does. If we were to look at the meter again, so you can see it's pushing it down by almost 10 decibels. It's almost halved it. So that's what's going in, the original signal, and this is the compressed version. You can see how bouncy this one is. So it kind of goes, starts there, then jumps all the way up there. Here it kind of starts there, kind of still stays there, because the compressor's turning it down. I'm quite happy with that, actually. What makeup gain does, that's literally just the volume control. Can you hear now it's been compressed, it's now quieter.
Yeah.
So you would have the makeup to make it back to the original volume, but in this case it's compressed. Off. Here it goes quiet, loud. Now it's just it's the same volume now. Some would argue, well, you just knock the dynamic range out, and you could say, okay, so you can reduce the thresholds. There's still that kind of dip, then loudness. It depends what you want for your track. So you could maybe not have it as harsh, put it here. So you still have that jump if you want that. But I think with something with this kind of genre of music, you kind of want it all the same volume.
Yeah, definitely.
There you go. So let's have a little listen now. And let's try a little bit later down there. Seems a little bit more tame now. It's controlled, and maybe you can sort of tweak it in the mix. You can have the overall volume a bit louder if you wanted to, but I think that was the main issue, was just the volume that was just clashing.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of compression.